The election is over. I did not dream that the returning office was in my bedroom. And I am still the owner of my own body, which it's wild that that was ever on the line.
Arriving at Retrospect. Retrospect Station. Doors will open on the left.
Welcome back, passengers, to Retrospect Station, the show where I show you just how colorful life can be. I'm your host, Elizabeth Dean, and last week we talked about my boogeyman, Viking. And what even was the lesson from that one? I actually don't remember what the lesson was from that one. I think it was like, what? Sometimes you live next door to really weird people? Maybe? Oh yeah, don't smoke. That was the lesson from the last one. Don't smoke. I am here today in Sound Booth 2 at the Mississauga Library Makerspace. And I only point this out because for people who can see me on camera, you will notice I've shrunk. Je suis très mini. I'm really small. And that's because, look, here's the table right in front of me. People on the audio can hear that. I'm banging on the table in front of me. It's literally at my eye level. The edge of this table is at eye level. So this is where I will remain for the entire episode. You're not getting any more than me than my head. And mainly it's because the table's broken. It's a table that goes up and down with some buttons, and the wire has all completely split. Like I'm staring at raw wire right at the bottom of the table. It's kind of fun. They're going to get it fixed. But on to today's topic this week. It's going to be the election again. I originally didn't want to. I wanted to give you a different story. But because the election just passed and I'm still feeling it, it's still raw and active in my mind, I just kind of wanted to get straight through to it so I don't have to think about it anymore. And so that it didn't kind of expire and get stale as the weeks went on. Next week, I will give you a brand new different story that has nothing to do with current day events, which might be a nice escape for a little while. But this week, election part 2, democracy is just paperwork part 2, people. Okay, that could have not been more true because this election was a federal election. So supposedly, the federal election this year was supposed to have technology involved because it's the 21st century and I mean, we probably should get with the times. But because they have to roll it out everywhere across the country, like they can't do it in some places and not really do it in others. It's a national election, so it has to be very consistent. They didn't really have facility to do that in the 40 days that the election had to be called within. Elections Canada was initially gaming for October for the election because that was, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that was when the election was supposed to happen, had Trudeau not stepped down, but he did. So they went from being able to plan ahead for October having technology to just, we had to do it on paper. Now, to be fair, I do actually still like it on paper. I think that it's emotionally comforting more than anything else. I don't think that technologically you can really rig that election given how many people are around and available. However, I do think that paper actually provides less avenues for election interference instead of having a tabulator count the results and spit it out. And it's because you're really trusting a machine to do it. Now, the thing is, there is what's called the logistics and accuracy done with machines after the election that has to be done that still verifies that the tabulator counted it correctly, that the tabulator didn't mess up. So there is a logistics and accuracy that's done on the tabulator. But overall, I still prefer paper elections. They give an emotional sense of comfort. Now, here's the thing. This particular election, okay, I'm going to say a bunch of, I have to preface this now. I'm going to say, my thoughts are all over the place today. Anyone who knows me in real life might, hopefully already, know that I really am blunt and I do not give a shit about what I say. That's not to say that I'm careless in what I say. Quite the opposite. I'm really particular in what I say and very decided in the things that I say. And what I mean by that is just I don't care about the certain types of criticism. What I mean by that is I don't mean like I'm going to be cruel and not give a crap about whose feelings I hurt. I mean, if I see something obnoxious, I'm going to say it as it is, very bluntly. I'm not going to even be kind about it. I'm like, if I see cruelty, I'm going to be belligerent about it. And I've taken that to heart. Recently, I had a personal talk time. Recently, I had a little bit of a revelation that all my life I've been called destructive and disruptive. And most of the instances I can think of is just because I said something to somebody that they didn't like, but that was actually true and was troublesome. And other times that I can think about times I've seen this are, I used to break all my toys as a kid. I'm writing a poem about that. Maybe you'll catch it on my Instagram at AstroAlex34. But I've kind of committed myself to this now. Recently, I thought about it and I'm like, no, I don't want to be liked anymore. I don't want to be liked. I want to be useful. I don't want to be liked. I'm here to start riots. So, hi, it's me. And I'm not going to be kind about any of this. And I'm hiding behind my microphone. Oh, well. Oh, I can't move it because the table's in the way. Okay. Sorry, this is like a squirrel brain episode because I ran outside for the fire alarm and I haven't recovered. Okay, so how to go about this? Okay. This election, in my personal opinion, note that everything I say here is my personal opinion. I do not speak for any official organizations. I speak only for the bullshit in my brain. But this election, I think, was interfered with not on the ballot. No. I don't think the actual process of the election was interfered with. Let me get that really clear. I worked 18 hours on Monday. Not one single process legally of this election, fair and square integrity, was affected. I'm not meaning that. I'm talking about propaganda. And I'm talking about the social climate and the actions that led up to, into, and following the election. Everything but what happened at the polls, I think, was interfered with. Foreign interference. And I'm not talking about Russia. I'm not talking about China. No. Foreign interference from America. A lot of what we saw online involved fear-mongering. What a word. Fear-mongering. And what I mean by that is things that were never critiqued about the Canadian election system were for some reason up for grabs for argument or criticism or decrying it, like saying it was a bad thing. One of those things, which is the bane of my existence, was the pen-pencil debate. People, you are allowed to bring whatever writing utensil you want to this election. No one will stop you. Just please don't use a Sharpie marker on a piece of paper because people are going to see who you voted for. I'm not supposed to know who you voted for. So if you bring me back a ballot and it's a Sharpie marker on it, plus it'll bleed through. It's a really tender paper. Like, if you hand me back a ballot, I'm going to be able to see who you voted for on the ballot because the Sharpie will show through the back. So, I mean, don't bring a Sharpie to a paper election, but bring a pen. Bring a pencil. Bring a highlighter. Like, I don't care. None of us care. As long as we can see an X in a circle for the candidate you voted for, none of us give a shit. As long as we can declare who you voted for, none of us give a shit. Cool. But the pen pencil thing, I understand from the perspective of a person who's never been inside of a poll station longer than the 2 minutes it takes to vote. I mean, this year it wasn't like that, but you know, because you mark your vote with a pencil, you put it in the box and you walk away. And you're thinking like, oh my God, but what if they open the box and change my vote? Okay, hold on. I said this in the last episode that I talked about. No, I said this in the one before this one, that you can't change a vote. It's so fucking hard. If ever someone wanted to change a ballot, it's so fucking hard to change a ballot, especially in a station like mine where there were 5 polling stations and 18 people working, 16 people working. No one's changing any fucking votes. Are you kidding me? You have to get 16 people all to agree with each other on the exact same thing. Do you know how difficult that is? Do you know how difficult? You can't even get your entire friend group to agree on where to go for lunch. You think we're all going to start agreeing on changing ballots? That was so stupid. Have people asking, well, why are they providing pencils unless they want to erase your ballots? Because pencils cost pennies, my guy. Which one would you rather buy if you had to have a writing utensil? Pencils or pens and you were on a tight budget? You'd buy pencils. Do you want our taxpayer dollars to go for $1 a pen? Because that's how much a pen costs. And pens run out real fast and they grow legs and walk away. Like, that's where you want our tax dollars going? Pens? Really? Oh, you want to complain about economic efficiency and spending? Okay. Pens are more expensive. So that was really, it pissed a lot of us off, this election working. Hearing this pen pencil thing, seeing it online. But what I mean by American foreign interference is, in America, there is a dictatorship. There's no real way to go about this nicely. There's no real way to say this any kinder or any gentler anymore. And we shouldn't be saying it any kinder. And we shouldn't be saying it any gentler because we're not kind and we're not gentle when we talk about Middle Eastern countries, China, Russia, Cuba, any other countries that have ever had a dictator installed into them by any sort of means. We're not kind when we talk about Hitler. We should not be kind and we should not be gentle when we're talking about America. America has a dictator and his name is Donald Trump. America is currently running a neo-Nazi outfit where Donald Trump is the de facto head on paper. Elon Musk is basically his right-hand man who moves about and he's not a G who moves in silence. Let's be real. He's fucking loud about it. We have JD Vance who murdered the Pope with his presence. And we have Wormbrain RFK Jr. We don't have a lot of intelligent people or wise people running the show, but we do have essentially what Hitler had going in Nazi Germany, which was a small collective party that made all the decisions in complete defiance of the law and the constitutions and everything that has ever been set up to protect people from violence, from a dictator. So America has a dictator. America is also hell-bent on land grabs, just like Hitler was. And they wanted Canada. They still want Canada. So people are saying Pierre Poilievre lost because of the Canada 51st state thing. Let's get that really clear. Nobody fucking likes Pierre Poilievre. That man is a dried booger stuck on the underside of your chair. No one likes him. I'm dead serious. People may like conservatism. People may like the Conservative Party's values. Nobody fucking likes Pierre Poilievre. That's why he lost. It has nothing to do with the 51st state. That's just a cherry on top thing. But I go ranting again. Jesus. I love to rant, don't I? No, so when I say foreign interference, I mean online and out and about, just the undertone of speech everywhere was oddly off-brand for Canada. And I'm not saying like the racism, like Canada's racist. Let's get this out of the way. Canada's racist. Canada is mildly sexist. Canada is very weirdly patriotic, not in a fundamentalist way, but in a very like elbows up, as we say, kind of way. And Canada is very much about still, today, very much about the decorum of politeness and manners. So Canada does not take kindly to vile kinds of speech or vile ways of behavior, which is also why Pierre Poilievre didn't stand much of a chance. He's just a vile person. But when I talk about foreign interference here, I mean that America's propaganda spilled over into Canada. And the only real way that it managed to get the foothold that it has is the internet. We're talking 18 to 34-year-olds, 35 to 45-year-olds, whatever. They show the demographic charts. A lot of them voted conservative. And it's probably because they are the majority of who's online. And online, I can personally say, I saw a lot of weird types of propaganda that didn't smell like Canada propaganda. Canada propaganda talks about economics, business, small businesses. Lots of times it's talking about small businesses. And it talks a lot about values, equality, economy, working for workers. There's a lot of that. But this election, the kind of propaganda that I was seeing smelled a lot like we need to deport people. We need to close off the country and make it white again without actually saying it. That undertone sat with all the propaganda. Canada doesn't really appreciate that. I'm going to be really frank with you. Canada's racist, but Canada doesn't appreciate being told it should be more racist. You know what I mean? Canada's racism is an undertone that sits throughout everything, but doesn't like to express itself or rear its head. And mainly, I think it's because Canadians don't want to be racist, but Canadians feel strongly in their racism. Like they feel like they're right in it. Like they've got it right. You know what I mean? Like they feel like they've got it right about brown people. They feel like they've got it right about black people. They feel like they've got it right about Indigenous people, but they don't say it because they know it sounds fucked up. So it's like that thing at the back of your head that's probably true, but it's rude to say. And that it's rude to say usually prevents Canadians from saying it. Recently, we haven't been seeing a lot of that. And I want to talk about specifically where we've been seeing that. We saw it. I gotta get to, I have notes in order, but I'm sorry, I'm going to get to this one. Ontario, what the fuck? I just have to flat say that. Ontario, what the actual fuck? I saw that map. I passed out cold at the end of the night. I'm not going to get into what the experience really was like. I thought I would, but it was just lots and 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 lots of paperwork. That's it. Plenty of paperwork. I explained it last time. It was the same paperwork. Nothing was different. There were some things that were different. Like the bags that we had to put things in were a little bit different. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Whoever took the advice, maybe they didn't take it from me. I'm not saying they did, but whoever took the advice of not having one gigantic fucking bag at the end of the night to bring everything back in. Thank you, smooches. Oh, that was so nice. Every ballot box got its own bag. And then there was a transport bag with all of the important paperwork materials. And then there was another bag with I called it the miscellaneous crap bag, which was bringing back everything that we didn't need to officially hand in a certain way. It was just all the materials, pens, pencils, paperwork, whatever, extra forms that no one's touching or using, right? Great. Cool. But oh my God. I'm so glad that they didn't just stuff it all in 2-3 bags. They told me you're gonna have 5 bags to bring back. No, it was 7 bags. I'm so grateful for that. But no, I'm not gonna get into experience of it. We didn't have any anomalies. Everything was pretty much fine. It was an election. We didn't have people campaign in our polling stations. That was a thing that was happening a lot in the advance polls. But it was dealt with. Whatever it was dealt with. I back to the pens, pencils thing. We had 3 scrutineers. We had 2 conservative reps and a liberal rep in our room watching all the counting. Had to have 2 witnesses sat at that table at all times watching the counting. They were allowed to object. There was an objection, I'm pretty sure. And it was fulfilled. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just somebody misreading something. It's actually really, really, really clear and safe how this counting works. I'm really happy about it. No, I want to talk about Ontario and what the fuck happened. Ontario inexplicably lit up blue. And people will say it's because Ontario blames the Liberals for the problems that Doug Ford has created. I'm with them. Ontario has blamed Trudeau and the Liberals for the problems that Doug Ford has created. However, this is probably the first time in my lifetime that it's happened so blatantly. This is probably the first time in my lifetime that Canadians have outrightly blamed the federal government. Ontarians have blamed the federal government for the provincial government's problems. There's people who do it every election cycle. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this election, for some reason, that's what Ontario did. And I saw the reasoning given where it was, we need to teach in school better, in civics, which government is responsible for what. And I want to just say, that's not going to solve anything. Yeah, putting it in a civics class is not going to help. And again, everything I say is personal opinion. I'm not an expert in anything. Everything I say, take it to be my own thoughts. I'm going to speak and not tread lightly. Know that when I say this, I do not care what demographic or country people come from. I don't give a shit. I genuinely do not give a shit. You could come from Ukraine. You could come from Germany. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what color you are. This has nothing to do with color, race, whatever. This truly just has to do with people who are not from Canada and people who are from Canada. So bear with me. The reason I think that people don't understand more and more now than before what their governments are responsible for, like what federal is responsible for, what provincial is responsible for, and what municipal or city is responsible for. Mainly the federal-provincial split, knowing what Doug Ford is responsible for and knowing what, right now, Mark Carney is responsible for. The reason I think people don't know that, the reason I think people don't understand that, and that these people are more susceptible to the propaganda from online and more susceptible to hearing, oh, liberals do this, conservatives do this, liberals do this, conservatives do this, and then just voting identity politics on party lines. The reason I think that there's more of that happening and that these people are doing this, and it's mainly still younger people, my age, actually, anywhere from 18 through to the 30s, so like young adults, I think really and truly is, and I'll say this, you don't really know who votes for who at the polls unless they tell you. But sometimes you hear people discuss and talk. Also, out and about here and there, outside of the elections, you do hear people talk a lot. And I'm going to say right now, it is really fucking troubling just how many brown people, Indian people, and how many Asian people are voting right-wing politics, voting conservative, without truly understanding what the hell is happening. They're listening and hearing that liberals are the reason for all of our troubles, all of this price issues, all of everything being expensive. It's the liberals, and they believe it. Because to be frank, I think it's because they're not from Canada. And this has nothing to do with intelligence or anything. This has to do with familiarity. The people, I think, who don't understand right now what government controls what, more often than not, are people who didn't come up through our high school system. They didn't come up through our civics class. Because I went through my civics class, and my civics class did teach us what controls what. We had it on the board. It was a whiteboard. They listed it out. And I'm from Mississauga. This is Mississauga curriculum. This is Peel curriculum. Right? This is Ontario curriculum. If it's not being taught correctly, that's a whole different story. But what I'm saying is the people who we're seeing this from, for the most part, are not really born Canadian citizens. It's not the born part that's the issue. It's that they went through a different high school system. Then they moved here. They may have moved right after grade 10 or something either, but they didn't come up through our civics class. I think they didn't come up through our civics class. They came here, they're here to set a life, they're here to have a life, and they don't know what our governments control. And when you get your citizenship, it's a little rocky. There's things that no Canadians know that you have to know, which is really weird. And there are things that all Canadians know that you don't have to know. And I think this is one of them. Yes, you get tested a bit, but the kind of testing that you get, it's not extensive enough on that subject, on that context, I think. So I think what's happening is they don't know what controls what. And past high school, nothing teaches it to you. We don't have it in the polling stations. We don't have it on the news. We don't regularly address this. We just kind of assume everyone knows it. And I think the problem with that is A lot of people who are coming here, moving, making another life, whatever, from a different country don't know that. Because I had a discussion with someone recently that there's a troubling amount of immigrants in Canada who vote Conservative, even though the Conservatives are very anti-immigrant. And we were trying to debate if they think it's like, well, not us. We're good immigrants. Yeah, there's some people who think like that. But not all of the immigrants think like that. And yet, a lot of them are voting for the anti-immigrant policy. And I think it's because they don't understand what government controls what. Now, this is not a moral failing. There's just no reason that they would know this. They didn't come up through our high school system. But they're here for university, and then they get residency, and then they get a job, and then they get citizenship, and okay, they settle. But nowhere in any of that process did they really get a grasp of what controls what. They didn't grow up here. They don't know. So a lot of that we're seeing, it's not education in the high school system that's lacking. It's education outside of the high school system that's lacking. For all the propaganda I saw online, not one single thing that I see talking about what controls what. And so Ontario lit up blue. My theory for why Ontario lit up blue is not because people have a short memory or don't, if they love Doug Ford. No one loves Doug Ford. It's mainly because he's familiar. Everyone knew him, so they voted for him. People didn't really know what the hell liberals do, but they knew that the liberals in the federal government are bad, so it must be that the provincial liberals are bad too. And those are people who don't understand the separation. And the only people who really don't understand that separation that badly have to be people who aren't from here. And mind you, I'm not just referring to people from across the ocean. I'm talking about Americans who moved up here after the first Trump election. I don't think they know either. And I think a lot of them are voting that way too. I think a lot of them who wanted to vote Republican, but didn't like Trump. And when they moved up here, they're like, I like conservative values. I just don't like his values. They keep voting conservative. I think there's this perception like that they don't really understand the separation. Because for them, their thing is different. They have governors and they belong to a party. And yes, they do subscribe to the federal level of parties. But the way our separation works is really distinct. Provinces are kind of their own separate place. And they only follow certain things that the federal government mandates for them. But outside of that, they can kind of do their own thing. The Conservatives in the province could be different from the Conservatives at the federal level. That regularly has happened. So, but Ontario, what the fuck? No, seriously. Poilievre was a man who wanted women not to own their bodies. I'm just going to go with that. There's a gazillion other things I could criticize about him. He wanted me not to be the owner of my body. I don't know where in anybody's head that fucked up principle is okay, but you own the right to your body. It's yours. That's it. Done. It's yours. Anyone who comes around and says, I actually don't think it is. I think that somebody else should have the say over what happens to your body. That's a dangerous person. Because if someone else can own my body, someone else can own your body. And you say, well, they'll never do that. You want to cross your fingers and hope? You can. The other thing is people were saying a lot of stuff like, oh, Poilievre says this. Oh, but he said he'd do this. Y'all. Do you think lying's illegal? Do politicians get arrested when they lie? No, they don't. They can lie. They're allowed to. Have you never heard of lying? My God, people. Okay, so I want to move on to the next thing because I'm going to run out of time. I just want to briefly touch on the advanced poll thing. I've never seen that kind of turnout before. And just to add to the Ontario what the fuck thing, you're telling me people set out in record numbers to the advanced polls all across this province and it was to vote for the nose booger? Oh, y'all need a good beating. I'm sorry. Y'all all need to be whacked across the face with a dictionary. You gotta be kidding me. No fucking way. No fucking way. Oh my God. Attention all passengers. We interrupt this story to bring you a special announcement. That's right, it's time for the Word of the Week. Literacy is at an all-time low. I think I said an all-time high. on one episode. But literacy is at an all-time low these days for reasons that are kind of out of our control sometimes. And so what better way to help do my part than bring you a lovely word of the week. Each week I'm going to bring you a word that is weird and a little complicated. Maybe somebody hasn't heard of it yet. So here we go. But this word this week, the word of the week, is specious. Specious. And specious is spelled S-P-E-C-I-O-U-S. It's a shorter word, specious. And Merriam-Webster defines specious as having a false look of truth or genuineness, like deceptive. It appears deceptive, has a deceptive attraction or allure. Specious. And an example sentence of specious would be, there are a lot of specious claims online that marking your ballot with pencil leaves it open to being changed or erased. But that isn't possible because of how many people are responsible for counting the damn ballots. Specious. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. I want to get to one last thing. So, again, like I said, I rambled a little bit. I'm finding more and more comfort in doing this podcast. And the more comfortable I get, the less performative I get, and the more rambly I get. Oh, well. That's the point of an intimate experience like this. Yes, I am brushing the microphone. I just want to close out with the wildest thing I've ever seen. Once upon a time, I used to live in Ottawa. I'd love to go back. I think home is where the Ottawa is, for me, personally. And if and when I ever do go back and move there, I am 1,000% moving to the Ottawa-Carleton riding. Y'all showed up. And when I say y'all showed up, I don't mean the voter turnout. No. I don't mean people elbows up, let's do this. No. No. I mean the fucking ballot. Okay, can I just say, I would like to say a quick prayer of thanks and sorrow for the election workers in the Ottawa-Carleton riding. Counting, especially the counter and the recorder who had to sit there at every single polling station and count the ballots one by one and tally them. And that tally sheet with all the candidates' names written at the top of it and then rejected at the very end. 92 squares y'all needed. I used to look at those tally sheets and go, why do they give us so many? It's not like we're going to need that many. Oh, my sweet summer child me. Oh, my God. Yeah, you heard me. 92. For anyone who's watching the video, I'm going to put up a picture from the Ottawa Citizen on the screen, a picture of what the Ottawa-Carleton riding's ballot looked like. Yeah, it was a meter long. 1 meter. For context, if you want to know what a meter is, put your arms out to about what's a meter? I don't really know what to call a meter. A meter is a meter is from, I don't even know how to, a meter is 3 feet long. I had to take a moment for that. Find a ruler, put 3 of them together. That's a meter. That's how long the ballot was. 36 inches long. I'm just going to say right now, y'all showed up. And when I come back to Ottawa, I am moving there. 91 people were on this ballot. People are complaining, saying Pierre Poilievre got lost in the shuffle. Listen, if you were so adamant about voting for Pierre Poilievre, you would have looked for him. You'd have asked the election worker to point him out for you because we're allowed to do that. You just didn't give a shit. Cool? No one likes him. That's why he didn't win in his fucking riding. He lost his seat. That man can't even be in Parliament screaming at people anymore. Thank God. But no, I just want to say a quick prayer of respect for this atrocious ballot. If you want to see a picture of it, just search up Ottawa-Carleton. Carleton is spelled C-A-R-L-E-T-O-N. Ottawa-Carleton ballot and click on the story by the Ottawa Citizen. You'll get a picture. It's, oh my God. I'm baffled. So, Ottawa-Carleton ballot. Can I just say, that is the most hilarious form of protest. People are going, it was inaccessible. It was just, listen. That was a statement that people made. That was a statement people made about fuck this. More people should be able to represent a riding. We're all independent candidates. And you know what? Good for them. I would love to see more independent candidates on the roster. Enough of this party bullshit. You actually have to try if you want to win our favor. That should be how it is. Point blank. I love that ballot. I was so proud of it. I'm so grateful I didn't have to count that. Holy shit. So, okay. We're done. The election's over. So what's next? Whether you're conservative or liberal or NDP and you're listening to this, or you're independent or whatever, what's next is more of the same. And some of you want to change. I'm going to tell you right now, get your head out of your fucking ass. Change is not always a good thing. Change for the sake of change is not a good thing. Change for the sake of change is dangerous and random and childish. Because it is always possible to make things worse. Always. It's always possible to make things worse. And that was what that man was going to do. Change, yeah. Not good change. Change that's destructive, change that destroys is not always good change. And that was definitely not going to be good change. He wasn't going to destroy capitalism. Your woes do not come from the Liberal government. Your woes do not come from the Canadian government. Your woes come from capitalism. Elbows up, pick up the trowels, start planting food, start planting flowers, and start standing up for your neighbors. And then maybe you might not be in such a pissy situation. Maybe all of us will get out of this pissy situation together. Cool? So what's next? More of the same. More capitalism, more hardship, more absolutely nothing happening. The same grocery prices because the government doesn't control that. The corporations do, and the government does not control the corporations. The corporations do. So if you're mad about this, just know it would never have changed under any of these prime ministers. I promise you this. So what's next? Ignore. I'm dead serious. Ignore the government. Outright. You want something done? Go meet your neighbors. Go talk to them. Elbows up, people. Elbows up doesn't mean we are the government. We have faith in the people who run this country. No. Elbows up means your next door neighbor is your friend. Your other next door neighbor is your friend. Doesn't matter what the hell they look like. That's what this is. So what's next? Elbows up, people. Fascism is coming. The dictator is already there. You asked yourself in history class, what would you have done? Whatever your answer was back then, you better start fucking doing it. Elbows up, people. The time is now. Stand with your neighbors. Don't give a shit what the government is doing. Cool? Cool. But that's all for this episode, and that's all for this week. I'm still mini and short at the bottom of this desk. And you know what? I might be here for a while. Every time I have a new episode, I might be here for a while, so smooches. But that's all for now. This episode was brought to you in part by the Ottawa-Carleton ballot. Oh gosh, I have to continue to sign out the right way. If you want to follow, if you like what you heard, I know I'm going to get this right one day. If you like what you heard and you want to support the podcast, please consider donating at coffee.com/retrospect station. That is ko-fi.com/retrospect station. I am doing this all by myself. I don't have a job right now. This is my job right now. If you feel like donating something, like, I would love you. Smooches. Also, 30 days past the Viking episode. So from last week to 30 days. I don't know what date that would be. If you donate, I will give you a hand-drawn picture of the Viking. Digital art that I make myself. I don't believe in AI. Cool. If you want to follow the podcast, please feel free on Retrospect Station. At Retrospect Station, Instagram and TikTok. And if you want to follow me, I am at AstroAlex34 on Instagram and TikTok. So, that's it. Smooches. Love you all. Bye-bye. Thank you for voting. Thank you for making sure that I own my own body. I love community.
A special thanks to the Mississauga Library Makerspace of Hazel McCallion Library. Without their resources, this show would not be possible.